usual hue and cry. Oh, we have to do something about fentanyl. Oh, yeah. And this is coming from the liberal politicians as well as the conservatives. Well, Joe Biden opened the border, and that has led to record amounts of heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, you name it, streaming across the border, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, including babies. So where's the responsibility that Joe Biden has? Why isn't that being discussed? And then you got the no bail laws. Fentanyl dealers don't even have to spend the night in prison. They bust them, they're right out, going back to selling fentanyl. That's what these people do. But totally ignored are the drug addicts themselves who buy fentanyl to get high. And you know what this tells me? They want to die. They have no control over what they're ingesting into their bodies. They could go out in a heartbeat. And hundreds of thousands of them have been killed over the past few years. These drug addicts are causing mayhem everywhere, but they don't care because they want to die. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Janice Kidd, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Has there ever been a time in our country, Bill, that our government has been more corrupt than it is today? What a good question, Janice. 2 times I can point to the expansion west with Native Americans and the reservations, U.S. Grant's administration, unbelievably corrupt. Now, Grant himself wasn't, but he didn't provide any oversight, okay, until it was too late. So that was crazy corruption. And the 1920s with the bootlegging and the prohibition, oh my God, that was so corrupt. Everybody was on a take. So those two were worse, but we're striving there. We're trying to get there now. Scott DeLoder, Crestwood, Kentucky. O'Reilly, your talking boy's memo on the death of a little boy from fentanyl was disturbing. I feel your pain and the helplessness that comes with that. If only you were omnipotent, because that's what it's going to take to correct this and many other tragedies in our country. Look, all I can do is show outrage when outrage is deserved. And the death of this 1-year-old boy, outrage was more than deserved. And it's very disturbing to me that the good people in the Bronx don't do anything. As I said, it couldn't happen in my town. Everybody be out in the street. Jessica Lilly, West Palm Beach, Florida. Great interview with Vivek. Six-pack Vivek. Okay. Best interview I've seen in years. What do you think of him being Trump's attorney general? Interesting. Got a law degree from Yale. Seems to be a fairly tough guy, wants order. Yeah, I'd interview him. Young, but it might be the right call. It's interesting, Jessica. In a moment, something you might not know.
Enjoy cleaner, safer, and more private internet daily. Be more cyber zen. For a limited time only, get our special offer at NordVPN.com. With a few simple clicks, NordVPN will block online trackers and hide your virtual location. It will secure your devices from malware-infected downloads and block access to malicious websites. Enjoy internet without trackers. Internet without malicious websites. Internet without malware-ridden files. Imagine your data more secure, your connection protected. Be more cyber zen. Take advantage of our special offer now at NordVPN.com. NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. On this day in 1875, a teenage boy escaped from prison in New Mexico. By his 21st birthday, he would become the most infamous outlaw in America. Here is the story of Billy the Kid. The exact details of Billy's birth are unknown, other than his real name, William Henry McCarty. After losing both his parents at the age of 15, the kid turned to crime. He was first arrested September 23rd, 1875, for stealing a basket of laundry in the New Mexico Territory. 2 days later, Billy escaped from jail by climbing up a chimney. He then fled to Arizona, making himself an outlaw and federal fugitive. His young age and bold behavior eventually made Billy the Kid a national celebrity. For the next 6 years, the Kid and his crew terrorized towns along the western frontier. They killed, robbed, and stole cattle. His crimes earned him a $5,000 bounty, a reward. He was eventually captured and convicted of killing a sheriff. The Kid was sentenced to hang for his crime, but he managed yet another jailbreak, murdering 2 deputies in the process. His freedom, however, did not last long. Billy the Kid was shot dead by a sheriff in Fort Sumner, New Mexico in 1881. He was just 21 years old, his crime spree lasting from age 15 to 21. Although his life was short, the gunslinger's legend grew after his death. Today, Billy the Kid is synonymous with the Old West, alongside men like Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, Jesse James, and Wild Bill Hickok. And here's something else you might not know. The myth surrounding the Kid intensified because of a new form of entertainment. In 1911, Billy was the subject of one of the first silent films released in the USA. Since then, his character has appeared in more than 150 movies. Back after this. The chairman of the Fed is promising more pain ahead. Last year, stocks dropped 20%, and this year could be worse. You are right to be worried. So please call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They'll show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Since I have been a client and spokesperson, the price of gold has appreciated more than 35%. So please call today and they'll have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they will give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. Please call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD GOLD to 65532. Again, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. 2 new national polls reveal more warning signs for President Biden's re-election bid. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The NBC News poll and ABC News Washington Post poll both show overwhelming majorities of Americans expressing concern about the president. His job approval is low in both surveys, with respondents unhappy about the economy, immigration, and Mr. Biden's age. In head-to-head matchups, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are tied in the NBC poll, but the ABC Washington Post poll shows Trump with a 9-point lead over the president. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Democratic U.S. Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey is rejecting calls to resign, saying that nearly $500,000 in cash found in his home was from personal savings, not from bribes. Menendez says he will fight the allegation.
I recognize this will be the biggest fight yet, but as I have stated throughout this whole process, I firmly believe that when all the facts are presented, not only will I be exonerated, but I still will be the New Jersey's senior senator.
Charges include that he illegally benefited by using his office to influence prosecutions against his associates and by acting on behalf of Egypt. Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar, a Democrat, says the U.S. needs to insist that Mexico do more to prevent thousands of migrants not eligible for asylum from gathering at the U.S. border.
Get the people on the Mexican side, deport them to their countries, do more to stop people on their southern border with Guatemala. Otherwise, we're just going to continue seeing this flow.
Cuellar spoke to Fox News Sunday. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 43 points, the Nasdaq drove 59, the S&P 500 advanced 17. More at townhall.com.
If you trade stocks, then you know avoiding pitfalls is the biggest challenge for both new and experienced investors. Vantage Point's dual-patented artificial intelligence provides a powerful solution to this problem by offering predictive accuracy, emotional neutrality, and diverse market forecasts for today's active traders. Vantage Point's AI analyzes billions of data points in seconds, so you get highly accurate predicted market conditions for the next trading day. Take the emotion out of your trading. Text the word money to 813-813. Navigate the financial markets with confidence using AI. Text MONEY to 813-813 right now to learn more for free. Text money to 813-813 to experience the benefits of AI in your trading. Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance. By texting, you agree to the terms available at VantagePointSoftware.com and consent to receive calls and texts using automated technology about offers or info by or on behalf of Vantage Point. Your consent is not a condition to purchase and can be revoked at any time. Message and data rates may apply. Text the word money to 813-813. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
You know, it's great to be back in St. Louis. I've been in South Carolina. I've been in Arizona. And I saw a lot of bank names there that I was not familiar with. But when I came back home here, I was familiar with one bank, and that is Royal Banks of Missouri. Royal Banks of Missouri has been providing unparalleled service to St. Louis residents since 1964. You know, Royal Banks of Missouri, they pride themselves on having the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. Royal has 17 convenient banking locations throughout St. Louis, including locations in Hannibal, Jerseyville, Granite City, and 2 locations in St. Charles. They also have 200 ATMs across the Midwest, so you can easily access your accounts no matter where you are. Royal Banks of Missouri offer a full range of financial services to meet all your personal and business needs, whether you need auto loans or home mortgages, online and mobile banking, or wealth management services, they've got you covered. Visit Royal online at royalbanksmo.com to learn more about their services and to find a location near you. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank that is in your community.
Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Simplicity Wealth, LLC, SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance, consulting, and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns. Whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today, solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
America Decides 2024.
Join News Talk STL for special coverage of the second GOP presidential debate. It all happens Wednesday night.
On Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
America Decides 2024. Details at newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
For 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years. I firmly believe that when all the facts are presented, not only will I be exonerated, but I still will be the New Jersey's senior senator.
And welcome into the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. It's 4:07 Monday. It is great to be in studio back here in St. Louis, but my partner is not in studio with me. He is remote, but he does join us today from, Tim, where are you today?
Beautiful Savannah, Georgia.
I was just there. That's
Chris.
where I flew out of.
Yeah, beautiful area. I am in downtown Savannah. Beautiful, of course. The old South here is alive and well, and we're at the historic Perry Lane Hotel. I'm joining all of my fellow coalition leaders around the country for a week with Grover Norquist and the good folks at Americans for Tax Reform. We get together once a year around this time to share best practices. We're going to be joined by some legislative leaders around the country and some folks in the private sector to talk about issues that are important to freedom and economic freedom and religious liberty and education reform and things along that course, Chris. So it'll be a good few days here, and thought I'd kick it off with joining you all here Monday.
Tim, we are definitely ships crossing in the night because I said I left Savannah Airport there to fly to Phoenix. That's where we flew into Hilton Head. So that is absolutely amazing. Tim, we got a big show today, a lot of big news this week. We've got a potential government shutdown on Saturday. We have a debate on Wednesday, and we'll talk about that more, the great debate coverage that we're going to have on Wednesday. And then one thing that Joy and I'm even interested in a little bit, Tim, and I'm sure you are too, is apparently the writer's strike is over. So some of our favorite shows on Netflix and streaming on other networks and platforms, we should have that. But there's an actor's strike still, so they have to finish that. So we'll talk about that as well. Do you have any initial thoughts on the writer's strike being over, Tim?
Well, Chris, as you said, praise God, we'll all be able to continue to watch Netflix again, I guess. I don't know. So, it's always good when all of the industries in the United States of America are functioning at full throttle. That really hasn't been the case over the last few years. Chris, how interesting is it that Joe Biden, who is the self-proclaimed president of the people, of the working man and woman, I believe, Chris, we've had more major strikes over the last few years under Biden. I don't remember anything of this. I'm sure there was one here and there under Donald Trump. But for a guy, Chris, who said that he's got his finger on the pulse of the American worker, they're all pretty upset right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and what they'll say is, the companies and these hedge fund managers, they all got rich under Donald Trump because he gave them all tax cuts. And now that these companies have prospered because of that, it's time for the workers to get their fair share of that money. And Joe Biden, this is them now, not me. As we all know, are the biggest friend of labor they've ever had. He's lunch pail Joe. So he's fighting for the workers. And I think, Tim, sometime this week he is planning to go to one of the striking plants and picket alongside the auto workers there.
I believe Biden will go to one of the picket lines on Tuesday, tomorrow, and then Donald Trump, I believe, will be heading to Detroit to join the UAW workers on Wednesday. So we've got the two leading front runners competing for the workers' vote. And Chris, let's remember in 2016, this feels a lot more like 2016 than 2020 to me personally. And let's remember Hillary Clinton really deep sixed her campaign late in the race when she basically trashed the working men and women in the coal mine industry and basically was like, nah, we're going to shut all those down. And Donald Trump was like, no, we're going to fire them all up. And so I don't know. I think Biden better be really careful this week. Chris, you've seen him the last few weeks. He is getting worse and worse when he has to read things off teleprompters. He's not speaking extemporaneously at all. And there's more and more rumors out there that seem to suggest that the Democratic Party is really looking for Plan B right now. The problem is they can't figure out what that should be.
Well, the poll that came out yesterday has all the Democrats very alarmed. The Washington Post ABC poll that shows a great percentage of Democrats themselves that think President Biden is too old to run. They want to replace him. Part of the poll also showed that President Trump had a 9-point lead over Joe Biden in this poll. So they're in complete panic mode. And I want to segue back to the beginning of the show when we played that clip of Menendez. Apparently, that's his excuse why he has gold bars in his suit jackets. But you're starting to hear the liberals, Tim, say, well, now the Republicans, the Donald Trump supporters can't say that the Biden Justice Department is biased because, look, they went after Menendez. And that's what makes it very suspect for me. I think they're doing that so they can say that they are being even-handed. The timing of this investigation is very suspect to me. What say you, former assistant prosecutor Tim Jones?
Oh, I so agree with you. Before I comment on that, Chris, who knew that Menendez was a far-right populist prepper, right? With all of the gold bars and he just had to be ready in case things are going off the rails. He sounded like someone who was living in the woods in Montana, not a Democratic New Jersey senator. I don't know why he's appealing to the conservative prepper world.
He should have said he had some freeze-dried food alongside those gold bars, and it'd have been much more believable, maybe.
Could not agree more. And Chris, back to your conspiracy theory. That's mine as well. And you know what? Why shouldn't we have conspiracy theories about things these days that the Department of Justice, the FBI, the DOJ, the CDC have implemented over the last few years on the American people, Chris? Because most of the conspiracy theories have all come true. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, which sometimes I do play on the radio, Chris, I would suggest that this is nothing more than a foil to distract from Joe Biden and all of his problems. Chris, the allegations involving Menendez and Biden are so insanely similar. The only thing Menendez is missing is a son named Hunter, right? Exactly. I mean, we're talking about a high-level elected official in the United States of America. Let's remember, there's only one president, but there's only 100 senators, right? We often say that's the most prestigious club in the world. And Menendez was trading favors for cash and other promises and goodies from foreign governments, very similar to the allegations involving Joe Biden as the big guy and the Biden, the alleged Biden crime family. So, Chris, this is a very convenient foil for the Democrats to go, oh, look, we got our guy. He's right over there. Yeah, he should resign. I mean, they had AOC doing the tour through the Sunday shows saying that this weekend. So they're more than happy to apparently have Menendez be guilty while the presumption of innocence still exists. And pretty much throw him under the bus.
Tim, let's listen to Speaker McCarthy give a rundown on the Biden crime family.
Are there plans to subpoena any other family members? Because according to the Republicans, family members accepted money from all
Well,
of
it
these.
looks to me like 9 Biden family members got money. I want to see bank statements. I think they'd have to come before us to answer the questions. Remember what impeachment inquiry is. It empowers Congress in a legal ability to get the information we need. That's going to be bank statements. That's going to be credit card statements. That's going to be family members coming in and answering the questions so the American public can know.
There it is right there. I mean, Biden is in trouble when it comes to his handling of the economy, foreign policy, inflation, and now this impeachment inquiry. I don't care if Democrats can try to poo-poo it, the media can kind of poo-poo it all they want, but because they've taken this next step, they have to cover it. And you see more and more of the cracks in them covering it while they're kind of cover for the Biden crime family as well.
And Chris, I think you're right when it comes to election 2024 and what you have said you believe the Democrats will fall back on. With the laundry list of failure that you just laid out, the only thing that the Democratic National Committee will be able to do in 2024 will be to fearmonger largely suburban women on the abortion issue. And that may or may not work nationally. It may or may not work in some states, but that's going to be it. That's going to be the only issue, because when you look at everything else, this administration, the Biden administration, it has been an abject failure. When you look at their policies on energy, education, the economy, they can't run on the Inflation Reduction Act because inflation is stubbornly still extremely high. I saw another report today from a major economic publication suggesting that recession could again be. I feel like recession's been around the corner for the last 18 months and just hasn't quite happened. But there's nothing good anywhere. So with Joe Biden unable to be on the campaign trail, they're going to go after, the fear mongering on abortion. And I guess January 6th, I guess they'll continue to say democracy is under attack. But I just feel that with all of these other problems and all of these other issues, and with Biden's disapproval rating at all-time highs, this is going to be different than 2020. It's going to be a lot. Look, they'll still try and lie, cheat, and steal their way to another national election, but I just think it's going to be a harder hill for them to climb this time.
It is going to be a harder climb, and that's what was a big topic yesterday on Meet the Depressed, as my wife calls it. Kornacki, who I like, the guy with the rolled-up sleeves. He's, he's a Democrat probably, but he's halfway fair. They talked about this yesterday, Tim.
It's a simple question of job approval. Barely 40% approve of Joe Biden's performance.
And we have to note, 56%. That's the highest disapproval rating for President Biden since he took office. That's significant. So really an uphill battle to try to make sure voters don't stay home if you're Democrats.
Yeah, that's it. And the problem for Democrats, too, the lack of enthusiasm about the election. There's clearly a lack of enthusiasm about the president himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, isn't it fascinating to hear networks like NBC and CNN finally come to all these realizations? It's almost as if you read between the lines and listen to them closely, they're saying, good grief, is there anybody else? Who else can we throw in, coach? But they don't know what plan B should be.
Yeah. And, when you have performances like this, this is why you have so many Democrats and so many Americans want another choice next 2024.
Yeah, you're right about that. And
number 8, Joey. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's hear number 8.
So today I'm pleased to announce we're working with Congress to invest $40 billion in our Pacific Islands Infrastructure Initiative. We call it the PI anyways. It doesn't matter what we call it, but that's what it is. I was going to get back to acronyms, and I'm going to withstand not doing that.
And they wonder why they think this man's incompetent. It doesn't matter what we call it, whatever.
Chris, without seeing the audio, without seeing the video there, just hearing the audio, it sounds like he's barely conscious. He struggled to get through 2 sentences there.
Yeah. Tim, we got a big show coming up. Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. We'll talk to him about some of the overseas news, some of the fighting that's going on. We'll talk to him about little politics, about the upcoming debate. At Chris's Corner, I'll give a recap of my buddy trip to Phoenix to see my beloved Dallas Cowboys lose to the Cardinals. A Chris's Corner on friendship. At 5:07, Speaker Stump Speech. Do we have a preview, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir. Chris, I'm going to talk about the solutions being in the states. All the problems we've just talked about and we talk about frequently, the solutions are in the states. So I'm going to talk about a few key states that are leading the way while the federal government seems to be working against the American people.
And then at 5:24, Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor for Red State and host of More to the Point. She will join us on what's on the latest on the redstate.com website. And then we'll close out the shows to do with something usually light. So stay with us. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Moved here from Indianapolis. Decided to find a conservative talk show.
Live and local.
It's the Kim Gardner question. Yeah. Is this just incompetence or is there malice behind this?
This is News Talk STL.
George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet was on Columbo and Katie last week talking about ThrottleNet, ThrottleNet.com, and how important it is to rely on a service like ThrottleNet to protect you and to protect your cybersecurity. With one click of an email, with one click of a link that you don't know, you can take down an entire company. It's a terrifying thought because it could be completely innocent, but attackers don't care. Hackers don't care. That is why you need to learn about how the internet works. That's why you need to learn how to protect your internet and protect your data with ThrottleNet. ThrottleNet has never paid for ransomware. They are one of the fastest customer services in town because they use AI. They partner with AI to help answer those support tickets quickly. Right now, it's within 1 minute and 57 seconds. So partner with an award-winning team with over 20 years of quality service. ThrottleNet is proud to be named the top 500 in the world for 9 years in a row. Protect your internet, protect your data, protect your clients, protect your company. Go to ThrottleNet, ThrottleNet.com, and check out this award-winning managed IT service and see what they can do for you.
Hi, Sean Long for STL FenceWorks. STL FenceWorks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL FenceWorks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL FenceWorks is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL FenceWorks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL FenceWorks is maintenance-free decking. STL FenceWorks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL FenceWorks make your outdoor space magical. Visit STLFenceWorks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL FenceWorks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Get ready for winter by making sure your family is warm and safe when the bone-chilling weather gets here. Mike Ferguson here for Anton's Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Energy Experts. Call them today to get your furnace tune-up. It's only $89, and it could save you hundreds or even thousands by preventing a breakdown. 314-338-3941 or antonshvac.com. Anton's installed our HVAC system, and we love it. Put their expertise and excellent customer service to work for you, just like they did for my house. antonshvac.com.
Columbo here with an awesome offer from the cleaning pros we trust with our home, the team at Zero Res. Mention the Columbo special when you book a cleaning in September, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 plus $100 off your air duct cleaning, which is perfect this time of year because it will help alleviate allergies and asthma, lower your energy bills, and keep your home cleaner longer. Just mention the Columbo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
For 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years. I firmly believe that when all the facts are presented, not only will I be exonerated, but I still will be the New Jersey's senior senator.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show 427. You know, Tim, on Monday, usually about this time, we have a former United States senator who joins us, and I've got a question for him pertaining to Senator Menendez, and let's get him on.
Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, you are a former member of that very esteemed body, the United States Senate. Is that customary among United States senators to keep gold bars in your suit jackets and cash in your socks? Is that how it's done there in the Senate Club?
Well, and what is it, $500,000 or close to that?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't say so, Chris. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he's probably the only one who's done that. It's an extraordinary story. It sounds to me like they've got him this time.
You served? Did you serve with him in the House?
Yeah.
Okay.
And briefly in the Senate also. And I like Bob Menendez. I think in many ways he's a really good senator. But this is the second time they're going after him, and boy, they sure seem to have the goods this time, don't they? I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain having close to $500,000 in gold bars and and all the rest of it, and we don't know what else they've got, of course, but he's a fighter, and obviously he's going to tough it out at least long enough to get himself the best deal possible.
Senator, there was another amazing, sort of implicit admission by a major Democrat today, and that was the governor of the once mighty state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul. She has called in the National Guard to deal with something we probably never thought they would call the National Guard in the state of New York, and that is the illegal immigration crisis. Senator, they were very proud. They were very proud. The New York Democrats were of their sanctuary state and sanctuary city status in the Big Apple until recently. And now you've got the mayor of New York calling this the worst crisis the city's ever faced. You've got the governor on national television last week telling illegal immigrants not to come to their state anymore. I mean, Senator, they're probably not only going to go so far, but they're sort of implicitly admitting that these policies that they have promoted for the past, 15, 20 years our failures, right? And that we need to actually come up with some adult solutions for this in Washington, D.C., don't we?
Yeah, implicitly admitting it, but I wonder sometimes whether they are double thinking to the point that they're not conscious of the fact that they were so critical of people who were concerned on the border about all this unlawful, illegal immigration. And now it's hitting their cities and their places, and they're acting like it's terrible, like they never said anything, about it in support of it before. It's like something out of Orwell. In other words, well, today we're at war with Atlantia, and we've always been at war. We've never been at war with the other. It's just amazing now that they have to deal with this, how they're acting, and nobody in the press, as far as I know, gets to any of these people, the mayor or the governor, to ask that question. Say, isn't this what you were criticizing so many people for being opposed to and worrying about immigration when you had a morally superior attitude towards it? I know, and I imagine, Tim, you had the same feeling, and that when you take a position that's pretty diametrically the opposite of what you've said in the past, weren't you? Not that I imagine you did that very often, because you knew you'd be asked about it, right? You'd say, well, how can
Republicans
you take this position now?
do. Right, Senator? Republicans always get asked when they change their positions on things, but the media seems to, like you just said, they act like the original position never existed in the first place.
Yeah, it never existed. We were never for. We were always at war with Atlanta. It's really out of Orwell, and it's just amazing to me because now they have to deal with it, with all the costs. And we've had border towns without anything near their resources, just besieged by this. Not to mention the drugs that are brought in, the kids who are brought in. I mean, it's terrible, and it has to be stopped. And the Biden administration just acts like it's not happening. I mean, it's incredible to me. It's a political loser for him too. I mean, I don't know what they think they're going to gain by it, but yes, now they seem to be true believers.
Senator, Ukrainian President Zelensky came to Washington and New York last week to talk to leaders to keep the aid and the military arms going to his country in this fight against Russia. Did he do any good while he was here?
I don't know. I think they're doing some good on the battlefield now. The accounts I'm reading are arguing over whether they've achieved or are on the cusp of a real breakthrough, or whether they're just making slow progress. The key thing is if they can get much further south so that they can threaten the supply lines to the supply lines southwest of where the Russians are now, they can make a big difference there. And that could be a game changer. But people are not. There's a debate underway about whether they've made substantial progress or not, or whether this is just a temporary thing. So I think the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Senator,
the key will be Crimea, I think. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Senator, the second Republican presidential debate is this week, this Wednesday evening. I believe 6 or 7 of the candidates have qualified for this one. With the former president, Donald Trump, having such a dramatic lead in the national and in what's more important, the statewide polls of the early caucus and primary states of Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, he continues to have massive double-digit leads. Is this debate this week important? Should the American people watch it? What should they watch it for? And last of all, who are you, from their performance in the first debate, who do you think might stand a chance of sort of having a breakout moment?
Well, the former Florida governor, I think, has a pretty decent chance. And the same thing with the former South Carolina governor. They're the two who seem to be leading the pack. They performed the best. And we'll see if they can follow up. I mean, I think right now everybody's wondering, can anything be done to reduce President Trump's lead? And he seems to be doing very well. I think he's operating tactically in a really sound way. And if they don't get a breakthrough pretty soon, I mean, look, we're in late September now. We're going to be in October pretty soon, and we've got the first primaries coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see if they change their tactics, because right now, you're right. I mean, they don't seem to be going anywhere.
Senator, there has been a lot of saber rattling by China in regards to Taiwan, and we've also seen that some high-level Chinese officials have disappeared recently as the China's foreign minister, who was relieved of his duties because of a marital affair. What's going on in China, Senator?
I think that with regard to Taiwan, or just in general,
In general,
it's
with those
classic
two
for
things.
them. Yeah, exactly. Xi Jinping has used this anti-corruption campaign. Now, he has gotten a lot of people who were corrupt, but he's also using it to get rid of his enemies or marginalize them and solidify his control. So the question is whether they're doing this in anticipation of a major move. Now, the Taiwanese presidential election is coming up in January. That, I think, is going to be a pivotal moment. If the current ruling party, which it's not an independence party in name, but it is de facto, Beijing doesn't like them. If the current vice president wins, that's going to be a moment of heightened risk. And I hope we're ready for it, because we have a presidential election coming up next year. There's going to be a lot of chaos here. We're occupied in Ukraine, and it's going to be a time of higher risk, I think, next year.
Speaking with former U.S. Senator Jim Talent, chairman of the Reagan Institute. Senator, I'd like to move over to the Middle East. There was some amazing news that came out of the Middle East last week, whereby Saudi Arabia and Israel may continue to further thaw their relations to the point of each actually recognizing the other for the first time in U.S. history. Senator, would you kind of give our listeners like the 35,000 foot on what's generally being discussed about the relationship changing between the two nations and what importance that has for us in the United States of America?
Yeah, well, the possibility of this was set by the Abraham Accords, which really was a brilliant move by the Trump administration, along with Israel and several Gulf states. And Saudi Arabia was interested at the time. So the question is, what exactly does the leader of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, have in mind here? It seems he wants to normalize relationship with Israel. He needs something for the Palestinians in order to be able to do that. And it looks like what he wants is support for a nuclear program in Saudi Arabia. The important thing to understand is that he believes the major problem for Saudi, and I think he's right, for Saudi Arabia in the Middle East is Iran. And he's not particularly concerned. He thinks the Palestinians are a marginal issue. I think Trump's diplomacy convinced them of that. So, yes, there is an opening. There is a possibility. But it depends on what he's going to want for the Palestinians. And it depends on what Netanyahu can get through his government, because there are a number of members of the Knesset in his coalition who are very concerned about making too many concessions to the Palestinians. So what I'm reading is that they're getting closer to an agreement. I think Netanyahu wants it, but there's a lot of things that are in play. Generally speaking, I think it'd be great if they're able to do this, but they need to be able to do it while protecting Israeli security. They're not going to give up any of East Jerusalem, I don't think, formally to the Palestinians. I think that's probably a non-starter. And if that's what MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, wants, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But I kind of think he doesn't want that. I think he's much more concerned about Iran, and he's seeing Israel as a de facto ally in constraining Iranian ambitions.
Senator, I have to apologize. I do have one obscure question for you, but I know you do know the answer to this.
Yeah, I do obscure, as you know.
France announced, Macron, that he is, quote unquote, giving up and is removing troops from Niger. And as you know, there was a military coup there a couple of months ago. Is that a good thing? Does that just make that country even more unstable and a right place for Al Qaeda and other elements?
Yeah, these North Central African countries are experiencing a lot of instability. It's a problem for us. We have some small bases in those areas, and we've been maintaining a presence in Africa largely in a training role, which I think has been very good, without very much in terms of expenditures of troops or money on our part. And so instability in this region is not a good thing, especially since the Russians are playing such a heavy game there, if you will. So it would be good if we could get some stability there, but I don't hold out a lot of hope in the immediate future. It's another area where I don't think the Biden administration has been operating very effectively.
Senator, there are additional. It seems like there's this weird undercurrent in the media, whereby many in the national corporate media have just now realized that Joe Biden may not be, let's just say, quite fit for the job, putting it mildly. And all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere, over the last few weeks, we've noticed all of these reports coming from places like CNN and MSNBC and some of the legacy media networks. But yet there doesn't really seem to be a plan B. And Senator, they of course want to protect the message, right? These networks are never going to admit that it's Joe Biden's policies, which we believe is what has been dragging the country down over the last few years. But they're starting to question his age. I mean, at this point, well, let me ask you this. How late is too late for the Democratic National Committee to have a plan B if Joe Biden continues to fail in his condition? I mean, it's October at the end of this week, and caucuses are going to begin in like 2 or 3 months. So as bad as Joe Biden is, and as much as maybe some of the national media networks are starting to question them, and they all seem to have the same talking points as one another, as does the DNC, there doesn't seem to be a plan B. So it really looks like we're heading towards Trump v. Biden part 2, doesn't it?
I think so. And the problem here is how do you get rid of Biden without getting Harris, who may be the one politician in the United States less popular than Biden is. That's a real problem. And so I don't think they know what to do about it, Tim. I mean, and I don't know what I would do about it if I was in their position. In other words, if they don't renominate him, or they do manage to push him aside, well, then and she becomes the president, well, then she has the upper hand to get the nomination herself. So it's a big political problem. That's my read on it anyway. I mean, it's not like they're calling me up to ask me my opinion all the time. But I think that's the difficulty. And I don't know what they're going to do. I think they'll probably stick with Biden. He's sort of like, it's like they're in an air bubble. They're running out of air, but they don't know how to get to the surface. And so they're going to stick where they are and try and figure something out. But I would imagine a lot of wheels are turning on their side of the aisle.
Senator, before we let you go, are you at the Reagan Library getting ready to go to the debate on Wednesday?
No, I couldn't do it. I wanted to, but I had commitments here in town, and I couldn't go. But I'll be watching.
Oh, excellent.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the strategy DeSantis uses to try and make up some ground and get some traction. And that's the problem. You know, they can't seem to get any traction against Trump, and he's played a brilliant game, I think, by not participating. I think that turned out to be a very smart tactical move.
And we'll talk to you more about that next week. Senator Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. And Tim, at 4:45, we're going to discuss, or 4:47, we're going to have Chris's Corner. And I think I will talk a little bit about my buddy weekend and the great time that I had, and friendships and male bonding and all of that type of toxic masculinity stuff.
Mhm.
We'll talk
Mhm.
about
Hear, hear.
that when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Disney's not saying they're sorry, but they really want to get that business back that they lost because they went woke. Are you willing to listen? Let's talk about it on Tuesday.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Have you been throwing those windows wide over the last few weeks as we've had such gorgeous weather here in the Heartland, especially in the evening and overnight hours? Are you looking at those windows thinking they need to be in better shape for the winter, which is unfortunately right around the bend? Well, I'd like you to give our friends at Window World a call if that's the case. Window World is simply the best for less. You can reach them today at 314-993-1800. One of only 2 window companies in the country that carry the coveted Good Housekeeping seal of approval. In just over 20 years in the business, Window World has improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 70,000 of our neighbors and friends in the region. They use a double strength of glass that's not commonly used in most replacement windows. And they come with a lifetime warranty covering all parts, glass breakage, and labor. That is a true lifetime warranty, folks. You can get the process started with Window World by giving them a call today, 314-993-1800. That's what sets them apart from everyone else, that incredible commitment to customer service with that massive lifetime warranty. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. Any questions? Want a free in-home estimate? Get that process started today. 314-993-1800. Fantastic windows always can be found at windowworld.com. Windowworld.com.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michaels Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michaels, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michaels has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michaels has to offer at igotfloored.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
And 2 of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's been...
And Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. That's our president, Joe. That man. I don't think Joe meant anything prejudicial against it. I remember when my grandparents were still alive, they would always say colored instead of black or African American. That's just what they were used to. So I cut Joe some slack on that. But it is funny, though, to hear him say that boy. And, Tim, the reason why I played that clip, because hip-hop is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And I went out to Phoenix, Arizona yesterday to visit a friend of mine of 49 years. And we saw the rise of hip-hop. And I want to talk about friendship and male bonding on Chris's Corner.
Chris. Chris. And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
You know, one of my all-time favorite movies is Stand By Me. I watched it many, many times as a younger man. And there is a particular line in that movie that I always remember, and it puts me in mind of like two closest friends that I have now. One of them is deceased, two of them actually. But it's the line that Dreyfuss, his character, said at the end of his movie when he found out that his friend Chris had been stabbed at a fast food restaurant. He said, "I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12 years old. Jesus does anyone." And that's how I felt. I've had a friend, Tony Washington, since I was 8 or 9 years old. Next year will be 50 years. You know, after a while, a friend becomes closer than a friend. They actually become a brother, and that is in the Bible. And that's what Tony Washington was that for me. He was there when my parents were splitting up and getting divorced. When my mother passed away, he flew into town for the funeral, even though there was a blizzard that day and had to postpone the funeral. But he's always been there and very close friend. So I flew out to Phoenix, Arizona to see my beloved Dallas Cowboys play the Phoenix Cardinals. I expected a victory, but it was not to be. But that was probably the only sour point of the whole time was that Cowboy victory that was not to be. You know, crazily, a friend that I have, Tony, for 49 years, I told him this. You know, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I almost was thinking, well, will we have something to talk about? Will there be, you know, gaps of silence? And, of course, there wasn't. It was like we had never missed a beat. You know, when you have old friends like that know you can talk about things that you ordinarily speak with other people. And if you are fortunate to have a friendship like that, you are blessed and should stay close to them. You know, a friend of Becky and ours, a pastor, a few years ago, wrote a book on male bonding and male friendships. And he brought up a point that I had never really thought about. But when I talked to my other friends about it, they said, yeah, this is true. That, you know, as males, we have our friends in high school and in college, and when we get married and start our families, you gradually are spending more time with your family and less with your friends, and you see each other less and less often, and you don't get together as much. And a lot of men, you can ask, you know, who is your best friend? Who do you hang out with? And it doesn't mean that you're a nerd or you can't make friends, but as men get older, we don't have a lot of close friends like we did when we were younger. But if you look at our wives or girlfriends, it's the exact opposite. My wife and her girlfriends are always going on girls' weekend trips and doing things. But as males, as we get older, we do less of that, and we don't have as many male friendships as we have. So one of the things that I would encourage through my trip is those of you males, get in touch with your old friends, those guys that you hung out with back in the day. Spend more time with them than you have, because you never know how much time you have with them. You know, my friend Tony, I went out to go see in Phoenix. He was one of two people that I grew up with in the particular neighborhood that were my best friends. We lost him a few years ago to pancreatic cancer, and that would have been the only thing that would have made this trip even better besides a Cowboy victory, was to have my friend Eric Henderson along with us. We were the three amigos. You did not see one of us without the other. And that's real male friendship. That's what it's all about. And that's what we need to get back to as we grow older as males. So, as you know, Cowboys did not win the game. Dak, I'm telling you, Dak did not want to go down the field. It was horrible. But, boy, did I enjoy that game. And did I enjoy that bonding. Enjoy. That is Chris's Corner. Tim, what about you? Do you still have as close as friendships as you've gotten older as you were younger and hang out with them and do buddy stuff? Or is it very far in between and your wife does more than that than you do?
You know, it's kind of a mixed bag with us. We it's harder, like you said, as the years go on and people are being pulled in different directions all the time, Chris, you know, and you know, it was, you know, I spent 10 years in New York, and had a lot of great friends while I was in college and law school, but then I went back home 1,000 miles away. And so I lost those relationships. But you know what? You know what's been helpful? Technology has been helpful with that aspect of friendships, right? So I'm able to keep in touch with people up in New York. There's probably out of, all the people you meet through college and law school, graduate schools, I have 2 friends up there I keep in touch with. And you know what's funny? When I came back to St. Louis, I got reacquainted with a lot of my friends from high school. And there's probably, again, 2 or 3 of them. And what we've done is we've tried to make sure that those connections remain there. And so you really got to work harder at it, right? So every year, Suzanne and I do a Jones family annual Christmas party, and it's the invitees have changed over the years, right? So, but there's like 2 or 3 of my high school friends and a couple of hers that always come every year. And so you try to hang on, Chris, right, to the connections that were always the strongest, and those are the people that have survived. But no, you're right. In general, time tends to pull people apart.
Joy, what about
so
you,
man? You got to work at it.
Joy, you still keep in touch with your high school friends, or are you like a loner now?
I am a bit of a loner. My girl is my best friend, but now that I get to go to so many concerts, I have been reaching out to people more often because I'm a giver. I like to invite people and show them a good time. So I just went to a concert with an old friend on Saturday night, and that was a lot of fun. And I hope to do more of that in the future.
Keep those relationships. As I said, I had a friend that wrote a book on it, and it was amazing when I was asking a bunch of folks, and it was like, I don't hang out with my buddies as much as I used to. But yeah, my wife is going on a girls' weekend every other weekend, it seems like, and we're not doing that stuff. So
we're lucky here at the station that everyone is so great and fun, and I do feel like we've made a lot of friends here.
A lot of friends.
Yeah.
Great station. Tim, what's on Speaker Stump Speech?
Chris, I'm going to talk about the solutions to our problems these days in the country being in the states. That as the federal government continues to go the wrong way on pretty much name the topic, a lot of states with a lot of great big red state governors seem to have the path to back to, maybe what we can recapture as a nation.
And that's a good topic coming up because that the government is slated to run out of money October 1st, which is Saturday. So there's a lot of chicken being played in the Capitol, and your Speaker Stump Speech will be very relevant to that, Tim. So can't wait to hear it at 5:07. 5:24, we'll speak with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor of RedState.com. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
It's your last chance to cut a deal at Seidenstricker Nobe Partners. Save up to $5,000 on select John Deere compact tractor packages with our exclusive 10-year warranty. And we're offering 0% financing for 60 months with zero down. Get your John Deere equipment by shopping online or visiting us at any of our 28 locations. Let's cut a deal now before it's too late. snpartners.com.
Offer valid through 9/30/2023. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Authorities are allowing residents of the town in Maui devastated by wildfire to return for the first time in 7 weeks. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Residents of Lahaina who survived the wildfire on August 8th are eager to see their devastated properties and collect anything that might remain. Authorities divided the burned area into 17 zones and have started handing out passes for today and tomorrow.
We still are at 97 fatalities. 89 people have been identified, and we have 15 outstanding investigations.
Hawaii Governor Josh Green.
We'll make sure that people have a chance to go to their properties starting on Monday to get closure.
Maui Emergency Management official Darryl Oliveira says it's sure to be an emotional moment.
For many of them, they have lost everything, including loved ones. We want to make this process as comfortable and as easy on them and keep them safe.
I'm Jennifer King.
Independent human rights experts backed by the United Nations have said they have found substantial evidence of war crimes committed by Russian forces in their war against Ukraine. We hear more from correspondent Karen Chamas reporting.
The team said its evidence showed crimes committed on both sides, but vastly more and a wider array of abuses were committed by Russian forces than by Ukrainian troops. The chair of the commission, Eric Mercer, said,
"The commission is deeply concerned at the scale and gravity of violations and the continuous evidence of crimes committed by the Russian armed forces in Ukraine."
The Commission also found the human rights abuses ranged from torture, some of it with such brutality that it led to death, and rape of women aged up to 83 years old. I'm Karen Chamas.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 43 points, the Nasdaq rose 59, the S&P 500 advanced 17. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Corey, and this is my story. I was going through some financial troubles paying off my credit cards. I was paying high interest rates, and it just wasn't getting any better. And I knew I had to do something. So my mom told me about Trinity, and so I decided to call. Trinity was able to do something that I couldn't. I'm paying off my debt, I'm saving thousands, and things are really looking up. I promise you guys, you will not regret it when you called Trinity, because it was such a relief and less stress in my life, and it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because once I called Trinity, they took care of me, and I felt such a relief, a weight off my shoulders. Trinity was great to work with. They wanted to help me. I love it.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Corey, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Well, folks, times are a-changing. We know that. Definitely in the economy, definitely in our nation. But the one thing that I've been told recently by the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, Rodney and Jen Wallner, is that if you're in the market to sell your home, this is a great time for you still to do that, because homes continue to be at all-time highs. Why is that? Because there's not enough supply. There is lots of demand. There's simply not enough supply. So if you're a seller and you want or need or would just like to sell your home, love you to call Rodney and Jen Wallner today. They will tell you everything you need to know about the state of the industry here in the St. Louis metropolitan region, the whole metropolitan region, because Rodney and Jen are now licensed in both Missouri and in Illinois. They're going to offer you a flexible commission plan if you decide to proceed with them. It's going to be tailored to your family specific needs, not a cookie cutter model. They will guarantee to obtain you an offer because they have so many buyers ready to rock and roll. That's why they can make that guarantee to you. They are a husband and wife team. You get that unique family perspective, not just that of one agent. There's no obligation or long-term commitment to any of the arrangements that you make with them. If you simply change your mind and decide this is not a good time for you, you can do that. No questions asked. I know you're going to have a great experience with the Wallners, though, because so many of News Talk STL Nation that we have sent their way has. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team today for a free listing consultation. Sell your home with this top producing real estate team, Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
There was a biohazard crew out here as well as a crime scene cleaning crew clearing out thousands of pounds of rotting fish from the Seafood City market here in U City last week. County health inspectors ordered Seafood City to shut down back in December, saying the fridges storing the food were set at unsafe temperatures. Then in March, inspectors found the market was still open. Court records show the property owner filed a lawsuit against Seafood City for not paying rent and owing more than $300,000 to the property owner. The property owner in California agreed to pay for this cleanup.
5:08 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Tim, I don't know what's going on, but this is the second major news story that's hit U City that is like right around my house. We had the teenagers that on the high-speed chase hit the house. That was right around the corner from my home, literally. And now the seafood place with the rotting fish. That's in a shopping center. That's literally right around the corner from my house. Just a horrible situation. I personally never smelled a smell, but my wife walks every day. She said that she did smell something when she came up the hill of our up to our home, which gives her a view of Seafood City. But boy, how trifling is that to just leave the fish in the in the seafood in the bins and just let it rot in that summer heat?
Can you think of anything worse than the concept of rotting fish? I mean,
No.
just the idea of seeing it, smelling it, touching it. I mean, there's nothing. It would be like next to like maybe nuclear toxic waste. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems horrid. And yeah, Chris, just to turn the key and to throw it away and just walk away. Holy smokes! I mean, that's just. So I hope someone's held accountable for this.
I mean, I was out of town last week, but I did read the story on the Post Disgrace and the television story. Good friend of mine who's been with KMOV for years, he stopped by the house to interview me about it. But we weren't home, of course, but I talked to him through the ring, and I said, hey, my neighbor down the street, he may want to talk to you about it, which he did, but man, this was just a horrible, nasty story. In the Post-Dispatch, it was saying that there were 4 workers, biohazard workers, that were cleaning this stuff up, and they shared a large fry between the 4 of them, and they couldn't finish it because their appetites were just gone from that. And one woman told the story how she had to take 4 showers, and she could still smell that odor on her. And she finally, on her 4th shower, washed her hair, and that's what finally got rid of the smell. So that's how bad that smell was.
You may need to lead a neighborhood community improvement plan there, Chris.
know.
I actually have a very good friend who lives around the corner from you there, that U City area. So I'm gonna have to ask him if he got any wafts of the fish market the other day. Good Lord. Yeah, what's happening in U City? What's going on?
Remember, I told you last week when we talked about this, I didn't smell the smell, but we had a rash of a bunch of flies that got in the house. And there would be like 4 or 5 of them in the house. You'd track them all down, you'd kill them, and then there'd be 5 or 6 of them that would replace it. And that's what my neighbor said. That's what he noticed, was there was just an inordinate amount of flies that were around. So thankfully they have taken care of that, Tim, and hopefully this landlord will get their money from these people that skipped out and leaving that stuff there. I doubt it, but boy, that's not very neighborly.
No, it's not at all. Hopefully things improve in your neighborhood over the next few weeks.
Tim, we talked about at the beginning of the show, this is a big week. This is debate week, of course, and
Yes.
those that are regular listeners of News Talk STL know that the best debate coverage that you're going to get is right here. We've got the most experienced crew with Tony Colombo and Vic Purcelli. So what you should do on Wednesday is join News Talk STL for special coverage of the second Republican presidential debate. It happens this Wednesday night, and you can join us live on all News Talk STL social media platforms. Vic Purcelli, as I said, Tony Colombo, and Katie Fitzpatrick will have immediate reaction and analysis of everything that happens on the debate stage. That's this Wednesday night, immediately following the second Republican presidential debate, on all News Talk STL social media platforms, including Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, and the brand new News Talk STL YouTube channel. Just search News Talk STL Official on the YouTube to find us. It's America Decides 2024, and we have you covered with all the important news and information. Get more details at newstalkstl.com. Tim, will you be doing some debate analysis from sunny Savannah, Georgia?
I probably will. I'll be an hour ahead here, so we might be a little deep in the hospitality suite at that point. But I will be. Maybe that'll be better analysis.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be smarter.
Exactly. You know what
after,
people say when they're drunk, or they're not drunk, or they've been drinking? They tell the truth.
I'll tell more of the truth. I'll tell you what I really think about Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. But no, Chris, in all seriousness, folks should, number one, listen to us, because we do have the best, broadest, most interesting debate analysis, because even though this radio station is, of course, a center right, and some of us are more right than others, and some are not, but we're all different people. And I listened to our debate coverage as a listener as well. So last time we did this last month, each one of us went on. So we had the crew that you mentioned, and then each one of us would join. I listened to everybody's analysis, and I thought it was fascinating, because I heard things that you said, and that Ken said, and that that Mike Ferguson said, and that I didn't think of on my own. And so that's why we have the best, because we have the broadest, and we have the most interesting, and we have the most analytical. And secondly, Chris, on the debate itself, even though we talked earlier about the fact that President Trump still seems to be dominating all of the polls, and we'll find out if that's true or not because polls don't vote, people do. We have a bench, unlike the Democratic Party. I think the future looks bright for the Republican Party because even though, most of the people on the stage are probably not going to be the ultimate presidential contenders here, and it looks like Donald Trump's pulling ahead of all of them by clear margins. For the future, all of these individuals largely are younger, and I could see each one of them as a president. Like if Ron DeSantis were to magically become president tomorrow, or Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley, I think all of us would think, yeah, these are smart people. They have good policy positions. We're not going to agree with them on everything, but then you look at the Democratic bench, Chris, and they're trying to figure out how in the world to get Kamala Harris out of the way to put Gavin Newsom in, and he may be their only hope. Their bench is a lot lighter and going the wrong way, for America in general versus ours.
I agree with that 100%. And the Speaker Stump speech, sir?
Yep, let's go ahead and speaking of the states and some of the governors therein, let's talk about that in today's Speaker Stump speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Big shout out today to listener Joey B, not Joey V, Joey B, Joey Balls, because he gave me quite a bit of inspiration today for the Speaker Stump speech because Joey B, as we have mentioned to you several times, is a frequent fan, an everyday fan of the show, and he gives us a lot of content because Joey B originally hails from the crazy state of California. He is very proud to be an escaped refugee and living here in the heartland, and he's a big fan of News Talk STL Nation. Joey B sent me a bunch of interesting tidbits from the state of California, and I'm going to mention some of those to you all to just prove to you how different state leadership can be. The biggest, most boldest red state governors are crushing it when it comes to economic reforms that have resulted in economic prosperity, educational reforms that have resulted in educational opportunity for parents and kids, getting a hold of the regulatory administrative state so people can be more encouraged to go to some of these big red states instead of leaving them. I mean, some of the stories that I have heard from California from people who have escaped from Joey on down over the last few years are just amazing. It's just as hard to leave California as it is to live there these days with the regulatory and even the burden put on simple homeowners with the taxation and the regulation. Last week, as we're complaining about gas prices here in the heartland, and I think we have full justification to do so because our regular unleaded gasoline is approaching $4 a gallon again. Joey B sent me a couple snapshots from some gas stations that a friend of his sent to him. In California, it's approaching $7 a gallon again. Can you imagine? How in the world do you live in California as a middle income earner? How in the world does the middle class survive? I'm assuming that California has this gigantic social safety net for the truly downtrodden and poor. I don't know how effective that is because California also leads the nation, folks, in poverty statistics. Another couple items that Joey B sent me. He sent me a picture of a home listing, and I'm looking at this home, and nothing against the folks who live there, or because it looks like a nicely kept home. It also looks incredibly tiny. So here we have a standard 4-bedroom, 3-bath, single-story home. It looks like it's on a slab. It's less than 2,000 square feet. So, maybe a starter home, right, that we would consider here in Missouri. $750,000 for a single-story, no basement, slab home in Pomona, California. Again, This would be a home that, by the looks of it, would be maybe a good starter home for somebody or a couple just starting out or maybe a single mom or dad. How in the world, though, do they afford $750,000? And you can bet the taxes on that are probably in the $10,000 range or maybe even closer to $15,000. Unbelievable what it takes. Now, compare that to what's going on in so many of the red states around the country. When you look at the fact that there are 1,000 people a week moving into the free liberty and economic freedom and religious freedom state of Florida. When you look at what's going on in Tennessee with the flood of people down into some of their major metropolitan areas of Nashville. When you look at the state I'm in right now, Governor Kemp's state of the great state of Georgia, Atlanta Airport is, I believe, very close to being one of the largest airports now. It's definitely the largest airport, I believe, in the country by volume, and potentially in the world. So when you look at, it's unfortunate that we've become so incredibly polarized, but when you look at the 50 laboratories of democracy, which is what our 50 states are, you can see where people are moving out of, where prices have gotten completely insane, where you really can't make it you can't pursue the American dream in those states, but you still definitely can in the ruby red states with the big red state governors. Now, the unfortunate thing of all that is we are no longer entirely the land of the free, the home of the brave. We have states right now that resemble more of failed Euro-socialistic states of the last 50 years than we do of some of our other big red states. It used to be in the United States of America, yeah, there were some differences here and there between the states, and California's probably been slipping off the left-hand side of the aisle and New York, but for the most part, the others competed well with each other. We have such a polarized America now that it's unfortunate that our nation is not as strong as it once used to be, because we have some states that are incredibly weak economically and where people are leaving in population, and then we have other states that are incredibly strong. Even though Chris and I often make fun of what goes on in Big Blue America, I don't think either one of us are happy about it. And for the long-term health of the entire nation, it's not good. But in the meantime, hopefully voters around the country will take note of what's happened in red states versus blue states through the COVID pandemic and definitely in the recovery. And they'll continue to impress upon these big blue state leaders that they need to be much more like their red state colleagues if we're going to have a situation where America does become great again. And that's the Speaker Stump Speech for today, September the 25th, 2023.
Tim, in Phoenix, Arizona, beautiful. My friend said it was summer year-round, which I love. But gas was $4.68 a gallon in Phoenix. Very, very high gas prices. And one thing that I noticed, too, is Phoenix, like a lot of growing areas, has a lot of transplants. One of the first questions people ask you, are you from here? Because they've had so many people come in. And Arizona, even though it has a couple of Democratic senators, it has been a conservative-leaning state. And they have lower taxes, and they support growth. And you see that. It's what we always talk about when we go out of town. A lot of cranes downtown, a lot of new highways being built in the Phoenix area.
And Chris, it's interesting you mentioned that, because what's happened to Arizona over the last few years, it has become less red and much more purple, and it's got some big blue areas now. So isn't that interesting, Chris, how, the more purple or bluer an area gets, the more it seems in general to struggle financially and economically.
Exactly. Let's see what Susie Moore has to say when we come back at 5:24. Deputy Managing Editor of Red State. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Always great to have Everett Jones of Jones Air and Water join us. Joined us just about a week or so ago to tell us all about the great specials he's got coming into the fall and the winter months. For all of you who have been putting that off, put it off no longer. Jones Air and Water specializes in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easier and better living in your home or your business. Everett's been working quite a bit on some major commercial and industrial projects. Yes, his air and water treatment products and services are for whatever size need you have, whether it is a home, whether it is a commercial business, whether it's a large industrial complex. Air treatment products include, of course, all kinds of air purification systems, also humidifiers and dehumidifiers. We're heading out of dehumidifier season and we're heading into humidifier season when the air gets a lot drier. And you want to make sure you take care of all that static energy in the air before it causes all kinds of problems. Look, and especially in a commercial or industrial building, a lot of static electricity buildup can be really harmful to a lot of the sensitive systems that you have in today's world. How about for water? They've got that Hydrotech H2O system, improves hardness, taste, and odor. For all of us who are on maybe municipal water that's maybe not quite up to snuff, they can take care of that. Also, they can put in that topper drinking system like we've got here at the station. It delivers clean, crisp, clear water. Tastes like it was just out of your best favorite bottled water, but it comes without all the waste and definitely is a lot more cost effective in the long run. Everett Jones is a master water specialist, 25 plus years in the business, a multitude of 5-star ratings from all the rating agencies. Give him a call anytime at 636-899-1040 or 24/7. You can go back and look up everything I just talked about at joneswater.com. That's joneswater.com.
Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Simplicity Well, LLC, SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance, consulting, and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns. Whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today, solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting serenityltc.com. That's serenityltc.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
Ocasio-Cortez came to Wentzville along with Representative Cori Bush.
Us sticking together breaks up their approach. They don't know what to do when people are unified.
When workers who build the Chevy Colorado can't afford to buy a Chevy Colorado, that's a red flag.
Ocasio-Cortez highlighted the pay gap between workers and the CEO, pointing out that the CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, made $29 million last year.
Now, the workers I spoke with says just the mere presence gave them a boost.
It brings the national spotlight to the UAW's plight, to the working class.
528 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. That, of course, was AOC and the Honorable Cori Bush at a striking plant in Wentzville there, Tim, riling up the troops. How do you think they did?
So now they like fossil fuel vehicles, Chris? I'm confused. Now we're
Good,
celebrating. Now we're
good question.
celebrating using the God-given resources we're given. Chris, I guess it just depends on which special interest group you're trying to appease today, right?
Yeah, and I said this last week. If you are a auto worker and you're having trouble buying a vehicle that you put together, or you're having trouble making ends meet, I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
budgetary problem. Let's see what our
Mm-hmm.
next guest thinks.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
And as she does every Monday at 5:25, Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor of RedState.com. Susie, I have to ask you, when you hear the UAW workers lamenting, saying that they're living paycheck to paycheck and that they just can't make it on those UAW union wages there, does your heart bleed like mine?
Well,
Mine don't.
I know, and I was gonna say I don't know if I would say my heart bleeds,
Mhm.
but I empathize. I mean, what did they say? The average cost of a new car is now is like $46,000. I can't afford that. Can you?
Well, they make like triple that. They should be, and they get a discount. So no, I don't have any favor for them. They get discounts too.
Yeah. Well,
Go
I
ahead,
don't
Tim.
know. All I know is that certainly for middle class and lower class Americans, the prices are out of control. So I do have sympathy with people who are living paycheck to paycheck. I agree that sometimes that can be self-inflicted, but sometimes that's a reflection of a bad economy.
Yeah, Susie, to follow up on that point, it's funny, Susie, that all these Democrats are rushing to these picket lines to show solidarity with their brothers and sisters. And, if I was on the picket line, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, I'd be looking at some of these elected leaders and going, you're kind of responsible for some of the complaints we have right now. I mean, Susie, inflation through the roof over the last couple of years. Yes, it's moderated down to lower levels, but it hasn't reversed. We're still many, many, many percentage points higher. Everything's more expensive. And, the gang, they want to replace some of these fossil fuel vehicles with electric vehicles that also forget about affording the ones we have now. Nobody can afford these. Susie, I guess my point is the politicians that have caused all the harm over the last 3 years are now the ones wanting to stand arm in arm and mock for the cameras. I mean, I hope people are smarter than that, but I don't know. What say you?
You mean the rich men north of Richmond?
That's some of them.
Rich men and women. And I think it's ironic that AOC is out there, given the fact that she's notoriously the owner of a Tesla that she's apparently trying to unload right now. But
Susie, we've made light a couple of times here. We played the tape of Senator Menendez trying to explain away why he has gold bars in his suit pockets and cold cash. Kind of reminds you of that congressman down there in Louisiana, Jefferson, who had the cash in the freezers. There's always an excuse. As an attorney, I know you didn't practice criminal law, but as a legal professional, what does your legal professional spidey sense say about the senator's excuse?
It says BS. That's what it says. I mean,
Is that a legal opinion there?
That is a legal. That's a formal legal opinion.
Got
You can cite that to the Supreme Court. Somebody of his means and experience and power level certainly has methods and vehicles for investing and saving and keeping his possessions safe. And I think those probably don't involve lining his suit pockets.
Could
and
he
such.
be a
So
prepper, Susie? Could he be a prepper?
Well, then he's a terrible one, because if you're prepping, socking away gold bars and cash isn't going to be what you need. If we're at the point where you need that, you need like tangible goods.
Susie, there is a very interesting story up at Red State that is the current banner headline story when you first jump on redstate.com, titled, "Is Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin the 11th hour dream candidate of the Republican donor class?" Written by your colleague, Mike Miller. Susie, I don't know. This seems to maybe be as much pie in the sky, wishful thinking as many Democrats wishing that Joe Biden would somehow get off of the stage and exit stage left. Susie, what do you think about these rumors of Glenn Youngkin? And if you were advising him, would you tell him to jump into this? I mean, look what's happened to Ron DeSantis. He was supposed to be the original white knight. And I don't know that Glenn Youngkin maybe he should keep his powder dry until the next go around. But what say you?
Yeah, I think that that's probably sage advice right now. The reason that Youngkin is appealing is because he hasn't gotten into it yet, so he still has the allure, and he hasn't started having the, everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him, except for the far leftist activists. He's well situated. He had obviously a successful initial gubernatorial run. He's running again right now. He's a popular governor, and he's also, well to do. I think they put his fortune at about $500 million. So, he's got a lot of appeal. But I think when people speculate along these lines, what it is a symptom of more than anything is the fact that we tend to overemphasize personality or the cult of personality. And it's like, oh, we want this savior. Oh, we want that savior. We want a king. We want a king. We want a king. And the bottom line is it's got to come down to the principles. And that's not sexy. It doesn't always sell when you're talking about campaigns, but you need somebody who shows those leadership qualities and is going to stick to those core principles if you want to actually have a good leader. So I don't know. I think sometimes people put too much emphasis on the wrong thing.
Susie, as you know, the government is slated to shut down October 1st, which is this Saturday. A lot of Republicans, conservatives are worried that it seems there is not an end game that the House Freedom Caucus has to end this stalemate. Who do you think this government shutdown hurts? Does it hurt Republicans or the Democrats, do you think?
I think more than anything, it almost always hurts the Republicans because of the messaging of the legacy media. But in the does it hurt them long term or just temporarily? I don't know. It's one of those things that it's hard for the everyday Americans to really wrap their brains around and relate to, because the quote unquote government shutdown for you and me, it doesn't really change anything. It changes the political landscape and some of the arguing and finger pointing back and forth. And obviously it affects, if there are furloughed government employees, that sort of thing. It may affect your ability to go to, national parks and monuments. But for most of us, it really doesn't. And given the amounts of money that our government spends on a, second by second basis, I think it's hard for most people to get overly worked up about it.
Susie, before I ask you about him, have you been following? You've got several stories on Red State, your colleagues do, about Russell Brand. Have you been following that story at all?
I have somewhat.
Okay.
I'm not a big, I'm familiar with it.
I haven't, but yet I keep seeing headlines. I understand he's in some kind of trouble. Susie, are these legitimate allegations from the reporting you've seen at Red State, or because Russell Brand has kind of, voluntarily gotten off of the left-wing lunatic reservation, is the establishment coming for him now, or is there some fire underneath some of this smoke?
Well, both things could actually be true. I would say the jury's out. The jury's out right now as to whether or not there is actual legitimacy to the allegations, or they are purely politically motivated. I think there's a solid reason to question whether this may be coming because of a political bent as opposed to, being legitimate. But I don't want to, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. None of this, has any basis in reality. We know he was a cad. We know that he's quite openly been, he's been pretty open about that. The thing that I think is interesting is that this didn't come from a legal or criminal investigation. This came from reporting that was done over like a period of a year or a year and a half. So these media outlets that first broke this story, they've been pursuing this story for quite a while. but yet they're still the ones that broke it. And now the UK law enforcement authorities are saying they're going to open an investigation. So it's like, the tail wagging the dog here. I'm just gonna say the jury's out. I think there's plenty of reason to not assume the worst about him, but also to recognize that it's possible. We don't know.
Susie, we have debates Wednesday at the Reagan Library. I have two questions within one for you there. What type of audience are you expecting? Do you think it will be as big as the first one? And do you think these debates really make any difference? Is this race over?
I think the audience is going to be bigger in the sense that our managing editor is going to be there. And so she's going to be there in person, so that's going to be bigger than anything else that I can think of. But in terms of the overall viewership, I think it's hard to say. It's a Wednesday night. I think it's a little bit later in the evening. I think what this does is kind of scratches the itch for those people who are political junkies and dialed in. I don't think it moves the needle much for people who haven't really been paying close attention and aren't ready to do so yet for another few months. But what it can do is result in some kind of viral video clips and some big moments that kind of resonate with people. They'll see the headlines or they'll see the clips, and in the back of their mind, they may start forming opinions that could come into play. I mean, I think it's very difficult with the polling lead that Donald Trump shows right now to expect that this is going to make a difference, but we don't know what things are going to look like 4 months from now or 6 months from now. So, I mean, I think this is very important to the candidates that are going to be there. And, obviously I'll be watching.
Susie, there was a bizarre moment this week in the Canadian Parliament after Volodymyr Zelensky visited the United States of America and got a very different reception here in Congress. Well, things didn't get better for him up in Canada. Fascinating Red State article. Outrage explodes after Canadian Parliament and Zelensky honor a Nazi SS soldier. Susie, what was that all about?
Yeah, this is a really weird story, and I need to when we hang up, I actually have to go do some more investigating because now I'm seeing some pushback saying that this is being blown out of proportion or there's something missing here. But from what we can tell at this point, this 98-year-old man who lives in Canada who fought the Russians in World War II was celebrated during Parliament as a hero for fighting the Russians because the Russians are the bad guys, right?
Right.
We'll think about who was fighting the Russians in World War II.
Yeah, that would be
The
the Nazis.
They're worse guys or just bad guys. And apparently he was associated with an outfit that was responsible directly for some bad, very, very bad things. Now, why he wasn't personally held responsible, I don't know. But he's honored and, he stands up and kind of raises his fist in the air, and here comes Zelensky raising his fist back in solidarity. And it's like, wait a second. First of all, he's a Nazi. Second of all, you're Jewish. What is going on? And why on earth would they pick this guy to honor? So, of course, it is. It's caused some outrage and some upset, and there's been a lot of discussion about it and then calls for an apology. I think there was an apology issued, actually. I don't think the Anti-Defamation League has spoken up on it yet, strangely. But yeah, it's weird. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around how you decide, we're going to honor this guy. We're just not going to vet him at all. We're just going to take it at face value and not think through what that actually means.
Susie? Somebody forgot to prepare the background material, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Susie, before we let you go, is there anything you'd like to promote on Red State in particular?
Well, we are continuing to churn out tons of content, and we will certainly be covering the debates this week and anything else big that develops on the legal front. And it seems like every day there's some big story that hits, and so you can expect that we will be all over that.
Excellent. And as she does every Monday, that is Susie Moore. Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com, and host of More to the Point, and frequent voice here on News Talk STL. Thank you, Susie.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
And as Rush used to say, Tim, one last broadcasting segment left. We'll come back. We'll lighten it up a little bit. Anything in particular you want to talk about?
Let's see. I'm trying to think, Chris, if we've forgotten to get to anything. Oh, did you want to talk any more? I was wanting to ask you more about, I know the Cowboys didn't put on their best performance, but I want to know if you want to talk about kind of your experience at the stadium, and how cool that was.
I will, because it was remarkable, and I've got a couple of
Looks
stories.
awesome.
Was Chris Christie there?
Chris Christie was not there. I don't think Chris Christie would fit in the seats.
Okay.
Maybe up in the
So you were the biggest
hospitality.
name there, is what it sounds like.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a pretty sad crowd there. Hey, we'll talk about it on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It's 5:44. You are listening to 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Tim Jones on Twitter at Speaker Tim Jones. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a dry evening and a dry night, low down to 66, but it's still above normal and warm all week. Tuesday's high up to 86. Partly cloudy, mainly a dry day by the evening and especially late at night, like 10 o'clock through about 8 a.m. Let's watch for a few showers and thunderstorms. So Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, chance for a couple of showers and storms. Wednesday, a lower chance for maybe a spot shower in the afternoon, mainly just a warm day with a high of around 82 degrees. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Congress returns from its weekend recess. Can now they put a deal together for the budget, or will there be more politics?
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
If you're in the market for anything jewelry oriented, wouldn't you want to make sure you stop by the place that's famous for the Wow Diamond? Well, yes, that would be none other than Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, a fantastic local jewelry shop right here in the St. Louis Metro. Newstetter's has been around and been our neighborhood jewelry store since 1961. Richard and his team take great pride in being locally owned and family run here in the St. Louis region. They've served the entire St. Louis Metro, as I said, for over 50 years. You need to experience the Newstetter's difference today. Home of the Wow Diamond. WowDiamonds.com. Services provided at Newstetter's regarding jewelry, well, that would pretty much be about everything and anything. So if you're getting engaged, if you're looking for a special anniversary gift, if you're looking for something for your spouse, significant other, family, or friends, as we head into the season of giving, remember, if the reason for the season is the important people in your life, Newstetter's has got you covered. For any and all jewelry creation or repair, master engraving. By the way, Richard is one of the few remaining master engravers. Man, it's a craft from a bygone era, but boy, is it incredible and amazing to see it done firsthand. Richard is one of those master engravers. We've got one right here in St. Louis. Jewelry appraisals, fine watch sales and repair, pearl and bead restringing, quality ring resizing. You got an idea in your head? Richard can draw it out for you. He's a really good graphic artist. He can draw it out for you, plan it out for you, and then he can build it and create it. Newstetter's, 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road, 314-966-4442, or simply remember, you can visit Newstetter's and see everything they've got at WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
Republicans, will continue to tell lies about President Biden. And that's in part why I think his approval rating is as low as it is that they tell these lies. We don't punch back hard enough. We play on our side of the field rather than theirs. And then on the right-wing media ecosystem, it just reinforces those lies. And then they use the low poll numbers to justify why they're going to lean in even more.
So, Tim, is Representative Swalwell admitting that conservative media is more powerful than the legacy media?
And it probably just burns his britches, doesn't it, Chris? I mean, on one hand, it's not, right? I mean, look, conservative media is still outgunned every day, like, 35-1. But maybe, Chris, people seek out the truth a little more. Is that what he's worried about? That people are seeking out and learning the truth, and so that's why he can't stand conservative media versus the same talking points that you hear on CNN, MSNBC, and all the other dinosaur legacy media networks?
It's just amazing to me that he can say with a straight face that the reason why Joe Biden's poll numbers are so bad is because of Newsmax, Fox News, and the Wall Street Journal, that the American people are just mesmerized by that content and are taking hook, line, and sinker everything they're saying, and they have the power to put down Joe Biden's polling numbers. It's just
Chris, if
that were
if you're right, if that were anywhere near true, if there was that much power at News Talk STL or on Newsmax or on Fox, then Chris, we wouldn't have such a polarized country, right? I think the commentators and the contributors on this station and on all the other conservative media outlets that we talk about all the time, I think they're so good because they're so honest and truthful, and we're not deceptive, right? We break things down for people so they can understand it. But yet, Chris, if they had that much power, then the midterm elections would have turned out much differently, right? Exactly. The last few presidential elections would have turned out much differently. So it seems like Eric Swalwell simply has an allergic reaction to the truth, and that's why he gets so upset about what he sees on everything that we just described.
Eric Swalwell, the one that was dating Bang Bang, right?
Yeah, the old Fang Fang honeypot.
Fang Bang, Bang Bang.
Bang 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 honeypot. Yeah,
let's switch up real quick because Joey wants us to switch up and get off that subject. Let's talk about my beloved Cowboys. I did visit Phoenix, watch them lose to the hapless, I want to say St. Louis Cardinals almost, Phoenix Cardinals. But I tell you though, Tim, Cowboy Nation, dude, showed up.
I bet it did.
Saturday when I went down, or Sunday morning when I went downstairs to get my breakfast, there were Cowboy fans just all in the lobby eating. When we went to the ballpark, it was a sea of blue. And I am not making this up, these two stories. A Arizona State trooper came up to me and my friend Tony and said, "Hey, is this a Cowboys home game today or something?" And then another person that was running one of the food trucks yelled out, "Yay, my first Cardinal customer," because all he had been getting was Cowboy customers, 1-1. It was, I have some pictures on my Facebook, but it was a sea of blue everywhere at that stadium. There were more Cowboy fans than Cardinal fans there at the beginning until the start of the game. But I honestly would say that it was 50-50 Cardinal Cowboy fans at the stadium.
That's impressive. Chris, what happened in the game? I unfortunately was traveling. I didn't get to watch the game. What happened that the Cardinals, were able to snatch a victory here after the Cowboys had such a great start so far this year?
They always talk about the NFL. There are teams that may not do well, but there's pretty much parity in the NFL now because of salary caps and all of that. And there's the saying, any given Sunday, a team can rise up and can beat you, and that's what happened to the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. I think that they overlooked the Cardinals. I think they saw their 0-2 record and looked past them and was looking to their next game, and they didn't prepare and practice as hard as they should have, and they just got whooped. One thing that my friend noticed, and everyone noticed too, is that Dak did not throw the ball down the field. He was throwing the little dinky passes to the side and throwing slants, but he didn't throw. He wouldn't throw the ball down the field. I don't know if he was afraid that he was going to get picked off or he didn't have the arm. I don't know. But ironically, the play in the game, guess what he did? He threw an interception in the end zone. Horrible pass. Shouldn't have thrown it at all. So I've said this for the last 2-3 years. Dak, I love him. He's a great quarterback, but he is not the quarterback that's going to take the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl and to winner's lane. He's just not. He's a good quarterback, but he's not the type of quarterback you're going to put that you're like, yeah, this guy's going to put the team on his shoulders and is going to take them through a victory. And he hasn't demonstrated that in his career to me.
Chris, Taylor Swift may bring an entire new generation of fans to NFL football that had heretofore probably had zero interest in the game. Did you see the Chiefs Bears footage, Chris, where Taylor Swift was in a luxury box because she's apparently dating Travis Kelce, and there was an image of her going crazy when he scored a touchdown that's gone like viral 80 bazillion times because that's Taylor Swift. I don't get the whole Taylor Swift thing, but Chris, when all the Swifties found out that she was dating a football player, more people may watch the NFL now. I don't know. She seems like she saves all industries.
And what was more interesting to me that I'd like to know is how in the world did they ever hooked up? And I tell you what, I tell you one thing that probably appeals to her and kind of disappointed me. But Kelsey did like a Bud Light commercial, trying to rebrand Bud Light, and did a commercial for them. It's like, dude, you lost a couple of brownie points with me with that. So maybe that was attractive to Taylor Swift because I'm sure she's a big lefty. And she said, oh, he still drinks Bud Light and he's a football player. Hey, my agent, go find him and say, and I want to meet him. I think that's how it turned out.
He just did a Pfizer commercial too for the vaccine.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's a double. That's
you
a
think
double
that you think she's
doomsday.
influencing him to be a lefty like that, or do you think it's just too many hits to the head?
I don't know. He
I
was
had to
on,
think about that one.
Because Chris, I'm like you. I don't know. The only thing I know about this relationship is apparently Kelsey was on a podcast a few months ago, and somebody was teasing him about who he's going to date next, and somehow Taylor Swift's name came up, and he goes, that'd be really great. She seems like a great person. Blah blah blah. Well, I don't know if that lit a spark or what, but here you go. A few months later, here they are. So once again, the power of radio, right? I don't know.
So are they about the same age? Who's older, Joey? I'm curious. Because she's been around so long, but I keep thinking she's like 28, but she probably started she was 12 or something. And how old is
They're
Taylor?
both 33.
Really? I didn't think she was that old.
They're both 33.
Wow.
Chris, I found this great article the other week on Taylor Swift, and I sent it to our favorite Taylor Swift fan, our good friend producer Cass down in on KWTO. She's a huge Swiftie, and Cass knows that Taylor's a huge lefty. She's like, hey, we all get one favorite lefty to love, and I'm like, do we? But anyway, I found this article, Chris. It's called, I sent it to Cass. It's called, let me see if I can find the title here. The Averageness of Taylor Swift. And the whole article is about how Taylor Swift is so popular because she's so average and boring, like so many other people in the country. And Cass was like, she's like, this is making me furious. I can rebut every aspect of this article. And I go, Cass, I sent it to you just to get your goat. And it worked.
Well, she is definitely a phenomenon. As you said, Tim, two middle-aged men. I don't get it, but she has an appeal. And, Kanye made a fool of himself, tried to snatch the award from her back there at the MTA or the awards. I don't know one of them. I don't even keep up with that crap. But anyway. Tim, coming up, Larry Connors, 6 to 8. Larry Connors has been expanded to 2 hours because of high demand, popular demand. Larry's going to talk about the TV battle between Maria Bartiromo and FBI or former Congressman Getz. Or Florida Congressman Getz, excuse me, the date when all young men fear their lives forever changed. We'll see what that date is. And climate goddess AOC tries to explain why she's driving a gas-powered car. Tim, you talked about that earlier. That's Larry Connors, USA. Great show, guys. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe.
Sit me right down and he talked to me. He told me.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be Shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road.